Welcome back. Today we are on the fourth day on our discussion on functions in Python. Today what we are going to do is we are going to learn functions with default arguments. So that is what we are going to study today.
Now look at this particular function. This is a function definition with a default argument. Here you can see there are two parameters a and b is being initialized with a default value, that is 7. That means in case I do not pass any value for b, it's going to assume the value 7. Now come to the main. I'm calling the function named sum. So sum 7. So what happens is the value 7 goes to variable a. And since I did not pass the value for the second parameter, it will assume the default value, that is 7. So a will be 7 and b too will be 7 because the default argument of b is 7. So c equal to 7 plus 7, that is 14. Print c, it's going to print 14. Now look at the second case. After that it comes to the next line. Sum 8 comma 9. So 8 goes to variable a and 9 goes to variable b. So now the value 9 is going to override the default argument. That means b is no longer 7. It's going to assume the value 9. So a is 8 and b is 9. Now c is equal to 8 plus 9, that is 17. So print c, it's going to print 17. This is how it works. So in case you do not pass a default value for the default argument, then what will happen? It's going to assume the default value. And if you pass a value for the default argument parameter, it's going to override the existing default value. Now, one point you just keep in mind that all these parameters that is having default values should be placed at the last end of the function definition. So here you cannot have a equal to 7 comma b. You cannot have something like this. All default arguments should be at the end of the function. So you cannot have this. It should always be at the end. That means, of course, you can write b comma a equal to 7. That's fine. But all default arguments should be at the end of the parameter list.
Now what we are going to do is we are going to learn how to invoke functions using keyword arguments. We are going to see what's the advantage of using keyword arguments when we invoke a function.
Look at the following function definition where I am finding the difference between two numbers. Now note carefully, see out here, differ a comma b, c equal to a minus b. The name of the function I have named it as differ. So print c, it's going to definitely print the difference between a and b. Now look at this function, differ 12 comma 15. I am invoking the function called differ. So what will happen is 12 goes to variable a and 15 goes to variable b. So c equal to a minus b, that is 12 minus 15, that is minus 3. So print c, it's going to print minus 3. Suppose there may be a situation where you wanted to specify that 15 should go to variable a and 12 should go to variable b. In that case, one solution is definitely write 15 out here and then write 12 out here. So 15 will go to variable a and 12 will go to variable b. But we may use any order if we use the keyword arguments. There is a concept called keyword arguments in Python. This time what we are going to do is we are going to specify, it doesn't matter whatever the order is, we can specify in which parameter which value will be set. So what we are going to do is we can write over here a equal to 17, b equal to 2. Now what actually happens is this time I am calling the function, but this time I am specifying which value is to be going to which particular variable. Now if I specify over here, it is not necessary the first value should be going to the first. You can see I have specified over here a should be getting the value 17. So this a will get the value 17 and b should get the value 2. So this b will get the value 2. This may be written in any order. I can write b equal to 2 and a equal to 17. Although you see the order has changed, that is I have written b and a next. Still the value of b, which is 2, will go to this particular b and the value 17 which is assigned to A will go to this particular variable A. So this is how the keyword arguments work. This makes life easier for a programmer.
Now what we are going to do is we are going to understand how to create anonymous functions. So please keep your attention and we are going to understand how to create anonymous functions.
Now there is one more type of function definition in Python, which is called anonymous function. Anonymous functions in Python is basically used to define a function without a name. Now this particular function definition is practically very useful if we have a very small definition of a function. That means a one-liner, a function which is having a single line. In such case, we use anonymous function. To define anonymous function, we use the keyword called lambda. So here, what we are doing is, this cube is a name to this particular, you may assume it to be the name for the function, but actually it's a variable. Lambda is used to tell that this is the variable which will be used as a parameter, and here what it is going to do, that is multiply a 3 times, that is find the cube. Now look at the way I am invoking this anonymous function. P equal to cube, this is the name of that particular identifier, and I am passing 5. The value 5 goes to variable a. Now what will happen is a into a, that is cube of this will get executed. That is 5 into 5 into 5. The cube of 5, that is 125, will get stored in P. Now look at the next definition, q equal to cube 7. So what will happen? 7 into 7 into 7 gets multiplied and stored inside variable q. And this time the value 343 gets stored inside the variable q. So print p and q. So it's going to display, for p it's going to display 125, and for q it's going to display 343.
Now I'm going to show you the working on my computer. Okay, welcome back. You're watching the screen of my computer, and here we are in the Python ideally editor. So what we are going to do is in this particular text editor we are going to write a program that involves function with default arguments, and we are going to see how it works. So I'll give you a demo on how default argument works. So we'll start with this. Say for example, let the name of the function be function, followed by we have a variable a and b equal to 20. So I'm just doing it anonymously without much of any use. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to display the value of a and b. Okay, let me put a prompt string out here. So a equal to a, and then here what I'm going to do is I'm going to display the value of b, that is b equal to here the value of b. Okay, this is what I'm doing, and here we start with the main part of the program. And here what we are going to do is, first when we call the function, let's do something. We are going to pass the value of a and b. So what are the values of a and b? I'm going to pass, that is 12 and 13. So this is what I'm going to do out here for the first time, and let's see what actually happens. So run, and we are going to run the module. Okay, click on the save button, and it's going to show me the answer. Okay, but before that we need to give the name of the file. So let's give demo4 the name of the file, and here you can see the output, that is a equal to 12, b equal to 13. So from here what do we understand? If we pass value to it, so it is going to override the default argument given in the function. In case I do not pass the value of b, so you see the first parameter goes to a, the second parameter goes to b. And since I have passed the value for the parameter b, so what actually happens is it's taking that particular value, so 20 gets overridden with the value 13. Now we are going to try the other way around. So suppose, say for example, in the same invocation of the function, what I'm going to do is I'm going to not pass the value for the parameter b, and let's run the program and see what happens. Okay, run module, click on OK for saving, And here you can see the value of b is assumed to be 20 because I did not pass the value of b this time. So when you do not pass the value of a parameter which has default argument, it is going to take the default value as defined in the function. So this is what it is going to do. Now we are going to elaborate further this one. As mentioned already in the video, that you cannot have default arguments at the beginning followed by a variable which is at the end. So suppose, say for example, something like this, and here too I'm going to display the value of c equal to c. So here what actually happens is, let's give it a try. Click on OK, and here you can see non-default argument. That, have you noticed the error? Once again I am running it. Non-default argument follows default argument. Now this is not allowed. We cannot have a non-default argument after a default argument. Once you begin with the default argument, it should be till the end. So you have to give a default argument for this also. So this is how it works. So now when I execute it, it will be fine, I believe. Okay, let's click over there. There you can see. So since I did not pass the value for b and c, it has assumed the default argument, and that is why we got 20 and 30 respectively for the value of b and c. So this is how it works with default argument. Now what we are going to learn is, in the next example, we are going to learn about keyword arguments. Now let me just change this. Remove the default argument from the function. I'm just going to modify the same program, and here I'm going to pass 12, 13 and 14 for the variables a, b and c. And let's see what is the output. The output is quite obvious. A is 12, b is 13 and c is 14. You can see, and the output is quite obvious. There is nothing much. So the first value, the first actual argument which you are passing goes to the first formal argument. The next actual argument goes to the next formal argument. Again 14 goes to c. So this is how the entire thing works, and subsequent values gets displayed over there according to the given function definition. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to change the order over here. You see, it is always the first value going to the first variable, the second value going to the second variable, the third value going to the third variable. So therefore, the order is always the same. Now, if I do not want to maintain the order, so in that case, what we can do is we can use the keyword argument. So what we are going to do is we can write b equal to 12. So that is the first value which we are passing for b instead of a. See, we can specify the name of the variable and what value you are going to pass to it. So that's the difference. Okay, let me make this c, and let this be b. So this is what we can do, and this is what you also see with the predefined function called print, where we use the parameters, the keyword arguments called end. Remember? So here let's see what is going to happen. Well, the value of a, I wanted it to be 14. Okay, let's execute it. And here you can see the value of a is 14, b is 12, c is 13. So I do not need to maintain any order. According to the keyword argument, whatever is the value given out there, it will just directly go to that particular parameter. So that is the use of keyword arguments. Now we are going to try repeating the existence of a variable. So a is 14, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to write b equal to 20 and see what basically happens, whether it works or not. So click on the OK button and see it's giving the error message that keyword argument repeated. So keyword arguments cannot be repeated. You shouldn't have any ambiguity. This is actually basically, it's good for the programmer because it do not allow any ambiguity at all. So that's the primary purpose of not allowing us to repeat any keyword arguments. So that's the basic reason why we do it. Now what we are going to do is we are going to study about the lambda function. You see, the lambda function is basically used to create anonymous function. I believe you remember what anonymous functions are. Anonymous functions are basically functions which do not require any definition. That is, we do not use the def keyword for defining the function. In such cases, you must have already seen in the video that such functions are basically used to create a short form of a big mathematical expression. Only that much. It cannot do complex operations like a function. So here what we are going to do is we are going to create a, anonymous function that will uh, perform a simple mathematical expression working. It's going to replace a particular mathematical expression with a simple operation. So for anonymous function, you must be knowing that we use the lambda keyword. So we are going to use that, where what we are going to do is we are going to take a variable and take two variables, say a and b, and what we are going to do is we are going to find the square of their sum. So this is what we are going to do. So let's try that with the lambda keyword. So here we are going to take square followed by equal to and followed by lambda. Lambda is the keyword for creating anonymous function. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two variables a and b followed by colon. And here what I'm going to do a plus b whole square. That is what I'm going to do, a plus b whole square. And let's see how this entire thing works. So what I'm going to do is in the main, so every time I'm going to pass a and b for the variable square, for the anonymous function square, it's going to find the square of their sum. So this is what it is going to do. So let's do something, say c equal to square, because that's the name of the anonymous function. Basically it's not a full-fledged, it's a false function, a virtual function basically. So 5 comma 6, so that is what I'm going to give, and let's display the value of c. So print c. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay, we'll give it a time for execution. Okay, click on OK, and you can see over there what is the answer. We get the answer as 121. What basically happened was 5 plus 6 was added, because that is what happens. 5 goes to the variable a, 6 goes to variable b, and 5 plus 6 will be 11, and 11 square is 121, and hence the output 121. So that is how anonymous functions work. And basically it cannot be used to create complex function. It can be used for replacing a huge mathematical expression only. So that is what we do with anonymous function. Though there are more usage to it, but currently we are going to keep it simple and keep it only to this particular level. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to learn or study regarding how to pass multiple or variable length arguments. You must have wondered when you use the print statement. The print statement is basically an inbuilt function. And if it is a function, how is it possible for the print function to take so many arguments? It can take two arguments, it can take a single argument, it can take multiple arguments. So how is it possible for it to work with so many, varying number of arguments? So we are going to try out the program for that. So we'll begin with def, because once again we are defining the function. Let's name the function as fun. And here what we are going to do is we are going to take a variable length argument. So to do that, we use a pointer, that is star or an asterisk, whatever you may call it, and take the variable p. So here inside p, you can imagine that you will get all the argument separated by comma. So this is what you're going to get. It's almost like a tuple what you're going to get over there. So here what I'm going to do is from the variable p, I'm going to display the content of each of the argument which is being passed. So what I'm going to do is I can use a for loop for I in p, and here what I'm going to do is p is obviously iterable, that is why I can use a for loop. So print I, And let's see, how do we call this function? Since this function has a variable length, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to invoke the function fun with any content, say first followed by second. Okay, for the third parameter, I'm going to pass a number 3. So that is how it goes. And let's see what we get. Run, okay, save, and here you can see each one of the content is getting displayed. What I wanted to show you is the function can accept any number of arguments. So this is an example of function having variable, number of arguments. So this is what exactly the built-in function print works with. In case I want to pass, a variable number of key arguments, what we can do is this is almost like the dictionary. You must have seen the dictionary. You must be remembering in class 11 you have already studied dictionary. So it is almost like the dictionary where we can have variable number of arguments, but this time we have the keyword also. So we call it a variable length keyword arguments. So we are going to put 2 stars over here, and what we are going to do is we are going to print the key and value pair for each of the variable length arguments. So this is what we are going to do. So here what we are going to do is we are going to write for, say, k for the key and v for the value. So that is what we do. N p dot items. So that is what we can write, since it's a dictionary type. It isn't basically that you cannot access it normally that way. So this is the trick of accessing each of the individual elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to display each of the key and value for this particular iterable whose name has been given as p. So here what I'm going to do is I can pass keyword arguments of a variable length. So here what I can write is name equal to Rama. So this is what I can do. And then I can have one more keyword. So role equal to, say, 1. And then what we can have is class equal to, say, 12. So that what I can do with the default arguments. So this is what we do. Let's give it a try. Let this be strings rather, which will be passed. It's easier to differentiate. So you can see there are 3 parameters which is being passed, but this time with the keyword argument. So variable length keyword arguments is exactly this. So let's run it and see what basically happens. Click on OK, and there you can see the first one is given, the second one is given, the third one is given. So this is what it does with the keyword arguments. Let me print it just the way we can print it using a dictionary. I believe you understood today's lesson, and this will be followed by the usual assignment. Do complete it and mail in my inbox. Thank you.